Hello, my dear children. Namaste, and welcome to session 2 of our class 9 CBSE chapter, The Fundamental Unit of Life. This is Ambika, your biology master teacher, right here on this amazing platform of Vedantu. Okay, so let us get started. I understand that your portions are probably like progressing faster at school. Obviously, I don't get to meet you, unfortunately, that frequently. But then, anyway, with the time that we have, let us ensure that we learn all your concepts inside out in the easiest possible manner. Okay, so let us move ahead. But then, before we get started with the concepts for today, there are a few things that I want to tell you. The first one, as always, is a motivational quote. Don't compare yourself to others. Okay, because each of us has been blessed with a unique talent, and each of us is unique in our own ways. In all possible manners, okay, be it our talents, be it our appearance, anything and everything, our daily routine, anything. What suits me may not suit you, and what suits you may not suit me, and so on. This is true with even siblings, may even stand true with best friends, classmates, or whatever. While we can take inspiration from others and borrow ideas from others, it's definitely not a good idea to compare ourselves to others. We are good and we are beautiful just as we are in every possible manner. Okay, let us have that self belief and move ahead positively in all that we do in our daily lives. Okay, and moving ahead to the homework question of the last session. Remember, name the type of cell, name the special type of cell which receives the information from the surroundings. And what is that? Yes, nerve cell or neuron. I've got the first few answers from Study Smartly, who says, Ma'am, my name is Ankush Pratap Singh, and the homework answer is neuron. So, Ankush, thank you very much, and it is the right answer. There is also Shraddha, Tanvi, Ameya, Lakshmi, and Vidya Shankar. Yes, who have all said the answer is either nerve cell or neuron. And thanks a lot, children, for all your answers through this. And I did get a few answers through email also. Thanks to every one of you for taking the time off and answering questions. And I think it does help in building a personal connect. So let's not forget the fact that we are still connected, although we may seem to be in different localities. Thanks to technology, the online education platforms are certainly playing magical roles these days and keeping teachers like me and children like you connected, right? So today also at the end of the session, I will be giving you another homework question. So let us look forward to it and move ahead. Once again, although neuron or nerve cell is the correct answer, for a little bit of information, let me tell you, it is specifically speaking the sensory neuron which give information to us about our surroundings, which you will be learning in your higher grades. But I'm just telling you, sensory neurons, to be specific, will be more appropriate considering the question that I asked you. Okay, children, so congratulations once again to everyone who gave me the correct answer. And the problems which you guys face these days because of online education. You may have a lot of unanswered doubts. You may not have proper access to systematic notes or even tests and assignments, competitive exam preparation, choice of schedule, choice of language. We, in fact, spoke to many of our students and noticed that these are the major problems that most of you children face today because of exclusive online education, because school and Vedantu everywhere else, and I mean everything, not just with education. I would say all kinds of possible training and interactions are all happening online these days, thanks to the COVID pandemic in 2020. So it's not really a problem if you think of it. At Vedantu, the good news is that we have all of these problems solved for you. These are not problems anymore for you guys as long as Vedantu is here. And in addition to solving these problems, we also have a lot of additional bonuses for you. What are they? We have unlimited live classes for you. We have all micro courses and crash courses out there for you. We will be giving you performance reports. You will be getting personalized attention with our expert master teachers and what not, a lot more. Okay. So what you have to do to understand more about these, just visit the link which is here, vdnt.in/ytpro, and it will guide you. I mean, I will just guide you right now also step by step about how to progress, how to proceed with it. So you get an option to choose your grade. For you guys, I'm assuming it will be grade 9, which you see here, and then you have to select your board. Okay, so board, which will be your target, which is written here, it will be CBSE 2021. Although it's marked as 10th grade here, for you guys it will be 9 CBSE 2021. Or if you are an ICSE or a state board student, choose it accordingly. Okay, and then what do you do? Check out the details about the pro courses, the pro subscription courses as we call them. So all the features that I told you plus a lot more have been mentioned here. Just go through them, and then what do? Click on the button get subscription. Okay, and then what? The big question comes, what about the pricing? So here we have everything transparent available for you. We have three major plans for this: the 1 month plan, the 3 months plan, and the 6 months plan. And the pricing, the normal pricing of the 1 month plan would normally be 2,699, whereas after application of the coupon code, it reduces to 2,294.15. What coupon code is that? I am talking about this coupon code mentioned here, which is AMBPRO. Okay, so you have the opportunity to use that code, apply it, and get your amount payable reduced to 2,294.15 if you are looking at a 1 month subscription to the pro courses. Okay, which means for 1 full month you get unlimited access to all of the features that I have told you. Okay, and then let me tell you about the 3 months plan, wherein the normal pricing would be what is mentioned here. Just a second. Yes. And then the 3 months plan, wherein the normal pricing would be rupees 6,999, whereas application of the same coupon code AMBPRO fetches you a discount and reduces it to 5,949.15. Okay, remember the code, children, AMBPRO, which means here on this slide what you see is the features that you can subscribe to for 3 full months. For 3 months you have unlimited access to all of these features on Vedantu. And then you have the 6 months plan, for which normally the amount payable would be 11,499, but then application of the same coupon code AMBPRO fetches you a good discount and reduces your amount payable to 9,774.15. Okay guys, so definitely make use of this opportunity, go through all the features, and check out what is budget friendly and pocket friendly to you. Try it out. You guys have nothing to lose because we have a lot in store for you. And yes, definitely make the best use of it. And let us move ahead with the concepts I have to talk to you about today. Let's learn today about the cell membrane, the cell wall, the cytoplasm, nucleus, nucleolus, and chromatin fibers. I'm sure by now all of you would be familiar with these terms because you had this chapter, like basics of this chapter in class 8 also, but probably you are not 100% clear about it. And let me tell you children right now, the chapter cell or the fundamental unit of life forms the base to understanding a lot of other things in biology as such. Okay, for example, in 10th standard you will have to know more about genetics and heredity and all of that, or if you are an ICSE student, you will have to understand cell division, mitosis, meiosis, and all that in your 10th standard more in detail, and so on. And if you are a NEET aspirant, definitely beyond doubt, this chapter forms the base of understanding your understanding in a lot of topics that you will be learning in your class 11 and 12. Okay, so do have that seriousness in mind, and let's move ahead. Remember, we are not here to memorize or by heart things in biology. We are here to visualize life or the processes happening inside our body and other living organisms around us, and try and appreciate the beauty of those and understand those so that we can better live our lives and we can also better appreciate the life forms around us. Okay children, that has to be our goal and not about learning exclusively for marks. Okay, so here we go. Remember in the previous session, I told you about what an animal cell looks like and what a plant cell looks like. And we have also mentioned the major cell organelles, right? Remember, I told you an organism is made up of organ systems. One single organ system is made up of many interrelated organs. Each organ is made up of interrelated tissues. Tissues are made up of cells, and cells are what we are talking about in this chapter. Each cell that makes up an organism, be it a unicellular or a multicellular organism, has its own shape, size, and form depending on the role that it has to play. We have seen all of that in session 1. So today, before we start off, I want you to build context in your mind by just bringing back memories of what we discussed in the previous session. I know it's been a week, but then bring back all of that flashback into your mind so that you're in a better and a more comfortable position to get started. In case of an animal cell, the outermost covering would be a cell membrane or the plasma membrane, whereas in the case of a plant cell, there would be a cell wall. Okay, and then the major organelles are mostly the same in prokaryotic and eukaryotic cells, but then the cells that you see on screen right now are both eukaryotic cells. Eukaryotic cells, by which I mean they have a well-developed nucleus. But the difference is that one is an animal cell and one is a plant cell shown here. So obviously, there are slight differences to them because the requirements of an animal and the requirements of a plant are totally different from each other. Okay, one is not superior or inferior to the other. Everything is equal for us. We will aim at understanding both of them. Okay, so moving ahead, the cell membrane or the plasma membrane, as we would call it, also called the plasma membrane. Okay, so this is the outermost layer in animal cells and in many other cells also, but let us now be concerned about animal cells, like in our case and any other animal that you can think of. In the case of plant cells, where do you find it? It lies right next to the cell wall, which means right inner to the cell wall in the case of plant cells. Okay. And then a few features of the plasma membrane is that it is very thin and a flexible living membrane. Now, the picture that you see here is actually the zoomed in image of a typical structure of a plasma membrane or a cell membrane. Okay, this is the model that was proposed by two scientists who studied it in great detail. So it's just right there. It's popularly known as the fluid mosaic model, which you will be learning about in your higher grades. Okay, and then it possesses fine pores in it. Okay, remember, cell membrane is not completely impermeable or impermeable or impervious to its surroundings. It's rather something that possesses fine pores, okay, which means certain particles can come in and move out through the plasma membrane. Okay, it is in fact semi-permeable. It doesn't allow anything and everything to pass through it, but certain items, certain molecules and certain materials are allowed to pass through the plasma membrane in any typical cell. And then, yes, that is what I mean when I say semi-permeable. And then it is made up of lipoproteins. The structure that you see here is the biochemical structure, the fluid mosaic model that I said, in which we explain that it is made up of, biochemically, it is made up of a mix of lipids and proteins. We call it together lipoproteins because the lipids and proteins are together forming a structure, an integrated form. Okay, then what does it do? Like, these are the main characteristics of it. Now coming to the chief functions of the cell membrane. What does it do? Obviously, it separates the contents of the cell from its surroundings. Secondly, it regulates the entry of certain solutes and ions. Okay, as I told you, it is semi-permeable, so it doesn't allow anything and everything to come into the cell or move out of the cell. Just like you can compare it to the door of your house, probably. Okay, wherein there is a very sincere security guard who is always there, be it your school gate or the main door of your house. There may be a security guard, or you just allow the door itself to act as the guard, so that anything and everything or anyone and everyone is not allowed to move in and out. Okay, there are certain rules to it, and the cell membrane decides what can enter and exit the cell. Okay, and then Most importantly, it maintains the shape of the cell, especially in animal cells. Okay, why is it especially in animal cells and not in plant cells? I will tell you in a bit. Okay, children, for now, understand cell membrane structurally, or the main features of it are these, and the main functions of the cell membrane or the plasma membrane are these. Okay. Okay, guys, so let us move ahead and just have a closer look at what this exactly looks like. Although, remember, this is just one zoomed in portion. When you imagine it in a cell, okay, I hope that drawing is clear to you. Imagine this is the cell. It's got all those cell organelles and everything else, the nucleus and everything else inside it. It is the plasma membrane or the cell membrane that gives it its shape, especially if this is an animal cell. And this outer layer which I have drawn here in red is what we have zoomed into and taken like one portion of it, and we are looking at it like this. I told you it is made up of a lipoprotein layer. Okay, so basically these are the proteins that you can see. All of these are proteins, and the other structures that you see here, these all of these the ball like structures which you see, these with tails, they are actually a double layered lipid layer. Okay, a double layered phospholipid bilayer, as we would call it. Okay, so let me write it: phospholipid bilayer. Okay, phospholipid bilayer along with proteins integrated in it, okay, are what biochemically make up the plasma membrane. And what is on this side and what is on this side? This we can probably, let me use another color. This we can probably call it as the extracellular space. Okay, outside of the cell, this portion is what I have above this image, and this portion which is below the image, you can imagine it to be the intracellular space, which is basically the space inside the cell, which means it is this space inside the cell. Okay, so extracellular space, intracellular space, and you have the proteins integrated within or in between a phospholipid bilayer. Okay, children, so with that much of basic understanding, I just told you this for you to be able to imagine it better. Not that this is commonly asked in your exam or anything. Most importantly, you must know the features and the function of plasma membrane. And I think one common exam exam favorite question is, why is the plasma membrane called semi-permeable? Because it allows the entry and exit only of selected molecules and ions through it. Okay, and with that, let us now move ahead to the next part of a typical cell, a typical plant cell or a bacterial cell, which is called the cell wall. Okay, now, in this image, if you can see, it's that of a plant cell. It's not an animal cell. For the time being, let us forget animal cells and focus only on plant cells, because this greenish layer that you see here is what the cell wall is. So, if the plasma membrane or the cell membrane is the door of your house, what is the cell wall? Cell wall, you can compare it to the wall which is built up around your house, or the fence which is built up around your house. The main outermost layer of a plant cell. Many bacteria also have a cell wall, but animal cells typically don't have a cell wall. Okay, there is a reason to that, and I will tell you. Let us first look at the main characteristics. This is a non-living rigid layer surrounding the plasma membrane, which means in the case of a plant cell, this is its typical structure. What I have drawn here is the cell wall, and the cell membrane and the plasma membrane we've seen earlier would be lying inner to the cell wall. This is the cell wall. This is the cell membrane or the plasma membrane, and the outermost is the cell wall. Okay, and it is mainly composed of cellulose. This is especially in the case of plant cells. Okay, cell wall of plant cells is composed of cellulose. Biochemically, it is composed of cellulose. And then remember that this is freely permeable, unlike the plasma membrane, which was semi-permeable, because through the cell wall, anything and everything can just pass through. Okay, this is why I said it is easier to compare it with the wall or the fence that surrounds your house, because you pretty much may not have full control over who enters and exits, but then who enters through the door of your house, you get to decide. Okay, so compare it, form a story in your mind, something like that. And then about its chief functions. It gives rigidity and shape to the plant cell. Remember, this is what I told you. The reason I told you, I will tell you in a bit why animal cells don't have a cell wall. This is because Plants, generally, they need a lot of supportive tissues which can give them a lot of structure and rigidity and a lot of support. Why so? Because they don't carry out locomotion, they don't move from one place to another, unlike animals. Animals do need a little bit of support, which our skeletal system takes care of, but not so rigid like plant cells, like the bark and all of that of plant cells, or the stem, the woody stems and all of that of plant cells, which are really very, very rigid and solid. That is important for them because it has to help them stay upright and stay erect in the same place without much damage, right? That is why plant cells have a cell wall. That is the main reason why plant cells have a cell wall. And then it allows substances in solution to enter and leave the cell without hindrance. We've seen that already. It is freely permeable. And then what does it do? It provides protection and provides shape to the plant cell. This is why I told you that giving shape to the cell is a function of the cell wall in a plant cell. But in the case of an animal cell, giving shape to the cell is a function of the plasma membrane or the cell membrane. Okay, children? So remember, very, very important to have the order clear in your mind. Cell wall is the outermost layer in a plant cell. Cell membrane or the plasma membrane is the outermost layer in an animal cell. But then in a plant cell also there is a plasma membrane or a cell membrane that would lie just inner to the cell wall. Okay, with that understanding, let us move ahead and look at it closer. This is the cell wall of a plant cell. Okay, and this layer we can mark it as the cell membrane. I understand my handwriting may not be at its best when I'm using the Wacom and writing it here, but anyway, it's just there for you to understand. Okay, and all the other organelles just as any other cell which are lying inside the cell membrane. Okay, children, so now let us move ahead and look at something else. We have seen the cell wall, we have seen the cell membrane. Now we are moving inward into the cell. What is it? The cytoplasm. Look at that. Now this is a typical cell which is there. It's not a bull's eye form of the egg that I told you about in the last class. It is a cell and this portion is actually what we call the cytoplasm. Okay, it's basically a fluidy or a gelatinous matrix inside the plasma membrane. So all the parts together inside the plasma membrane, excluding the nucleus, lie within the cytoplasm. Okay, it contains a mixture of water and soluble inorganic and organic compounds and various organelles. Okay, so it is in the cytoplasm that all the different organelles that we have seen the names of in the last session, like endoplasmic reticulum, ribosomes, lysosomes, all of them lie floating around or embedded in the cytoplasm. This is about the main characteristics. And then about its chief functions. Different organelles contained in it perform different functions. So cytoplasm by itself does have certain roles because first of all, yes, it acts as the point or the place where, or the matrix where all the major cell organelles are embedded. Secondly, another thing we must know is that it acts as the site for a lot of metabolic activities which occur inside a cell, like certain steps of respiration, chemical respiration or biochemical respiration, cellular level of respiration, which occurs inside a cell. A lot of it, one major chunk of it occurs inside the cytoplasm. Okay, so all metabolic activities occur in it. The medium of earlier steps of respiration, this is exactly what I told you, which you will be learning in your higher grade. So don't worry too much about that. Medium of the initial few steps of cellular respiration, such as the production of what we call pyruvic acid, okay, occurs inside the cytoplasm. Okay, so this does occur in anaerobic as well as aerobic respiration, actually, the production of pyruvic acid. But then why it is mentioned here is just to give you information on the fact that this particular step, wherein something that we call pyruvic acid is formed in your cell during respiration, occurs in the cytoplasm. Okay, let us take a closer look at the cytoplasm now, the same image, but then for you to be able to imagine. Okay, so this is the plasma membrane, this is the nucleus, all the other cell organelles. Okay, imagine this is the mitochondrion, and this, okay, there may be a lot more mitochondria out there, and then you may have the endoplasmic reticulum, which is lying like just outside the nucleus. There may be rough endoplasmic reticulum, there may be smooth endoplasmic reticulum, and so on. There may be free ribosomes lying around, and then there may be lysosomes, there may be the Golgi complex and the Golgi vesicles which are there. All of them lie in the cytoplasm, and this is also the place where, as I told you, the conversion of glucose to pyruvate or pyruvic acid occurs in cellular respiration. That is exactly the step I told you not to break your head too much on, but just have it in your mind that this is a very important step to be able to generate energy in your cells as part of respiration, and cytoplasm serves as the site for that process to happen. Okay, and let us now move ahead and look at the next part, which is the nucleus. We are now zooming in further into the cell and looking at the nucleus. It's a very large cell organelle. Mostly it is spherical and dense in appearance. The nuclear membrane has certain pores. Nuclear membrane is basically this membrane, the outer covering of the nucleus is what we call the nuclear membrane, as the name indicates. It's a double layered membrane, and it's got certain pores which you can see here, which allow substances to enter and leave. Okay, enter and leave the nucleus. And then it contains a network. Pay attention, children, very, very important. Contains a network of thread-like structures called chromatin fibers. What is that? Yes, chromatin fibers, as you would see it like this, right? This is what chromatin is, or chromatin fibers are. Why are they there? This is the core of all living beings, all eukaryotic beings, because this is what chromatin is, what contains your DNA, which is your genetic material, and that makes me, me, and it makes you, you. Okay, that is what makes us unique. Okay, so this is the most important point, or the most important component of the nucleus. And then coming to the functions, the major functions of the nucleus, of course, it's got a lot of roles to play. It regulates cell functions, which means we can call it the control center of the cell. Okay, so imagine, coming back to our analogy of the house, the wall around your house was the cell wall. The door is the cell membrane or the plasma membrane, and inside the house, the floor or the medium inside the house, consider it as the floor, maybe your cytoplasm, and the nucleus is the most important control point in your house. You can give the role of nucleus to either a human being who takes charge of everything in your house, could be one of your parents or anyone else, like the control point, or you can also give it, give any non-living thing which is like the most important place in your house, like the drawing room or something like that, which acts as a control point of your entire house, okay, on which everything else and anything else is dependent. So that is completely up to you. I'm just here to give you an idea about how you can form an analogy in your mind. Okay, so this is about the nucleus, which is why we call it the control center of the cell. It regulates all the cell functions. So obviously, if removed, the cell would die off. Okay, and then remember, it contains chromosomes, which are bearers of genes that control hereditary characters. So now, here I told you there are chromatin fibers, here I told you there are chromosomes. What is the difference between them? Well, it is basically the same thing. Remember, children, okay, I will explain it to you in the next slide, where I will be showing you a slightly zoomed in image of nucleus. So if you just observe it under the microscope, a stained cell typically, this is what it would look like. But let us just take out the nucleus from that and zoom it in here. Imagine this is the nucleus. This entire thing is the nucleus. This membrane you see around it is a double layered membrane, which we call the nuclear membrane. We've seen that, right? And then these orangish structures you see here are the nuclear pores. Why is it there? Actually, it plays a major role at the time of DNA replication, protein formation, and all of that, which you will learn in your higher grades in 11th and 12th standard. Because, as I told you, DNA is present inside the nucleus. So, the DNA, as and when required for protein synthesis, it may have to move in and out through the nuclear pores. Okay, for the time being, just understand there are nuclear pores in the nuclear membrane. Okay, and then what I told you about chromatin. Now this, I think the bluish structures that you can see here, like a cluster of structures you see here, you can imagine that to be the chromatin. I hope you can see that. If not, I will draw it in black here for you so that it's easier to visualize. Okay, it's like lying around all over inside your nucleus, what we call chromatin. Okay, now coming to what I was telling you, the difference between chromatin and chromosomes. What are they? Chromatin is what you see at any random stage of the cell. Like when you look at it now, you see it in the form of chromatin. But when it is time for the cell to divide, you know that all cells have to keep dividing, right? For repair, for growth, for everything. All these major activities in your body, cells keep dividing. Okay, but then it doesn't divide all the time. There is a point at which it divides. So only at the point when it divides, you would find that the chromatin changes this shape of its structure and condenses into structures looking like this. Okay, X-shaped structures looking like this, which we call chromosomes. Okay, chromosome. Okay, so it's basically the same thing. Chromatin and chromosome are the same thing. The only thing is chromatin is the thread-like cluster or the network that you see inside the nucleus at any random stage of cell. But then at the time of cell division, the chromatin condenses to take up the shape of a chromosome, because there is a significance to it, which will make sense to you only while we are talking about the stages of cell division. Okay, children? So just understand that much. But then, what is the importance of chromatin again? It contains DNA, which is your genetic material and makes you what you are and makes me what I am. And DNA is something that I have inherited from my mom and dad. It is something that you have inherited from your mom and dad. In fact, it is something that every sexually reproducing organism inherits it from his or her mom and dad. Okay, that is about DNA and genes, as we commonly call them, GENES, right? That is what DNA is. And yes, let us now go a little deeper. If you remember, inside this, there was one more small structure inside the nucleus that I had left out without filling it with chromatin, right? That is what we call the nucleolus. It is, you can say, describe it as one or more round-shaped structures which are present inside the nucleus. And what are the chief functions of it? It helps in producing ribosomes. Ribosomes are another very important organelle of your cell, right? Site of production of ribosome is mainly your nucleolus, and then it participates in protein synthesis by forming and storing RNA. Okay, very, very important. It takes part in protein synthesis, and then it dictates ribosomes to synthesize proteins. These are the major roles nucleolus would play. In fact, you can say that nucleus is the control center of your cell. Nucleolus is the control center of your nucleus, or nucleolus is the main part of your nucleus. Okay, so with that understanding in mind, let us look at one quick thing, like one quick question that I have to tell you. I have told you many different parts associated with the nucleus, right? So this is the nucleus that you see here, which is like spread out between 4 quadrants. Where do you see the nucleolus? I told you about the nuclear membrane. I told you about nuclear pores. I told you about the nucleus itself. I told you about the nucleolus also. In which quadrant do you see the nucleolus? Is it 1, 2, 3, or 4? And your time is up. Most certainly, it is quadrant number 3 in which you find the nucleolus. In this image, okay, the position can change, but then in this image, it is seen in the 3rd quadrant. Okay, and now telling you a little more about chromatin. I have told you already, but let's just list out the main characteristics and the chief functions. It is indeed a fine thread-like network, which you see in the resting stage of the nucleus, which means stages of nucleus when it is not dividing, when the cell is not dividing. Okay, it condenses into chromosomes at the time of cell division. It is made up of DNA threads. Remember, most important. And then chromosomes carry genes, which are carriers of hereditary information from parents to offspring. So, what is the relation between gene, DNA, and chromosome or chromatin? Chromosome and chromatin, I think there is no confusion. Now remember the structure of the chromosome that I showed you. It is like this. If you zoom into it, you would find that it is biochemically made of DNA, like this. Okay, DNA can be represented like this. It's a double helical structure. DNA is the biochemical molecule, or the biochemical macromolecule, as we can call it, which makes up a huge portion of your chromosomes or chromatin. Each segment, the DNA itself is divided into different segments called genes. So this is probably gene 1 of your DNA, this is called as gene 2 of your DNA, and so on and on and on. Okay, children, I've just told you this as a little bit of extra information for you to be able to understand the purpose of this and to be able to visualize it better when you go to 10th standard also. Okay, because you need to form a base while studying the chapter Heredity and Evolution. Okay, so here we go. This is about a chromatin, which you can see as those bluish strands inside this. Here, the darker blue, right, which you see inside, clustered around, scattered around, right? Okay. And now I think it's time for a quick check. So get ready. I will be giving you a quick quiz just to see how much we have understood of this. Yes, the outermost layer of plant cell is which of these? Plasma membrane, plasmodesmata, cell wall, nuclear membrane. Okay. And your time is up. The answer is cell wall. Okay, I'm not sure if you can see that shade there. It is the cell wall, outermost layer of a plant cell. Now, what are plasmodesmata? That's probably a term we haven't used in today's session. They are actually said to be cytoplasmic connections occurring between cell to cell. Okay, something like if this is one cell, okay, imagine this to be one cell, imagine this to be a neighboring cell. There can be channels of communication which are filled with cytoplasm, which we call plasmodesmata. Okay, and let us move on to the next question now. Entry of solute and ion into the cell is regulated by lignin, pectin, plasma membrane, nuclear membrane. Read it carefully. And your time is up. The answer is yes, plasma membrane. Okay, the semi-permeable membrane, which is there to guard, there to check who is eligible to enter and exit the cell. Okay, and the next one, rigidity and shape to the plant cell is provided by which of these? Cell membrane, cell wall, phospholipid bilayer, or none of these? And your time is up. The answer is the cell wall. Yes, I'm sure all of you have got that right. Okay, now DASH is a cell organelle which contains DNA in eukaryotes. Is it the plasma membrane, lysosomes, cytoplasm, or the nucleus? A cell organelle which contains DNA in eukaryotes. Super duper easy. I'm sure all of you got that right, and your time is up. The answer is nucleus. Yes, the nucleus is indeed the organelle which contains DNA in eukaryotes. Now, DASH condenses to form chromosome during cell division or for cell division. Is it the nucleus, chromatin fibers, Golgi apparatus, or the nucleolus? Okay, and your time is up. The answer is chromatin fibers. Remember, yes, biochemically made up of DNA. And well done, all of you guys, for answering that correctly, answering all of these correctly. And those of you who have not got most answers right, not to worry at all. Please do go ahead and watch the replay of the session once again. But please be sure to have all of what I have told you today clear in your mind. So before we sign off, let me tell you, let me just recap or list out whatever we have done today. You now know what the cell membrane is, what a cell wall is, the cytoplasm, nucleus, nucleolus, and about chromatin fibers. Okay, and remember, I will be giving you a homework question also, as always. List three major functions of the nucleus. Okay, let us see who's going to be giving me the fastest and the most appropriate and the best answer after today's session. And do remember, children, to visit vdnt.in/ytpro, wherein you can check out the details of our pro subscription courses. Remember, I have told you the pricing of all of this at the start of the session, but you have the opportunity of availing discounts by application of the coupon code AMBPRO. Okay, so do not miss the opportunity. And before you say goodbye to me, remember to hit the like button right now to communicate with me that you have enjoyed this session. And if you would like to share it with all your CBSE 9 friends or any other grade or board friends who will find this useful, please do not hesitate to share the link with them, share this video with them. Please do remember to subscribe to our channel Vedantu 9th and 10th English in case you haven't done that yet. So hit the subscribe button and hit the bell icon right next to it. And I am also available on email. So let us always be in touch, children. And until we meet again, take care, stay safe. And this is Ambika signing off. Bye-bye.